Hey guys, welcome to the another podcast. Today we have Mr. Bharat with us, who is a full stack developer.
Hi.
In this video, we'll be talking more about like what is full stack, what is his daily role, and what are the roadmap as a common man which we can follow to attain a state of full stack developer. Welcome Bharat, and give a quick overview about you.
Okay. Thank you, Vasan, for having me here. My name is Bharat. I have 5 years of experience. My bachelor's in computer application from Gujarat. I also did my master's in IT from DAI City, Gandhinagar.
Thanks
Right.
Bharat. Can you give a quick overview like what's a full stack developer and what they do for?
Okay. In terms of, if we say software development in general, we have a couple of areas. We have front-end development, we have back-end development, and then we need some data, and then we have to put everything else in some place. Everything in some place, right? We have to host it, right? Full stack developers tries to do all of them, right? We write some front-end code, we also write back-end code, and we try to write queries. If we are running one-man show, you need to also deploy it somewhere. You also do Vasan's job, that is DevOps. Right.
My understanding of front end is something like the UI, which you see in the website.
Yes.
Back end is something
That you don't want people to see.
okay.
Yeah. And data that you really don't want people to see. Right.
And does the full stack also covers the security aspect? Or
If you are running a one-man show and if the risk profile of your data is higher, then you need to think about security as well.
Right.
But if you can delegate it to someone professional, that would be great.
Nice. I understand like to develop an application, whatever you need, the entire end-to-end A to Z skill set is how
You should be able to do.
Right. Is there any having multiple subcategories? Like for example, full stack in web development, full stack in mobile app development, likewise, or how it is?
Okay, let's talk about backend, right? Backend is something that will stay away from your users.
Okay,
right? Your front end could be anything. Your front end could be web, your front end could be a mobile app, it could be an embedded system in some machine, right? That accesses your data through a backend layer, right? Backend layer basically controls access of the data by your users, right? Users cannot get all of the data they want. They'll only get data that you want them to have.
Yeah.
Right. In principle, if I go to my Facebook page, I'll be able to edit my Facebook page and not yours.
Right. Exactly.
That is being done by backend. Right. Now, to see all of that data and to make it look good, that's where front-end engineers come. Right.
Got it.
If you are in the market for full stack, you'll have to do both the things. That you'll have to make your data look good. You'll have to make your data reach to the front end and securing it in a way. You'll have to add some primary controls where people cannot get the data.
Is my understanding right that the backend would be like more common same for irrespective of app or web?
Yes.
And the UI you are going to design is going to vary based from end to end. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. There are a lot of stack names, right? You have heard about MERN, MERN, basically, right? That is Mongo, Express, React Native, right? In that case, our front end becomes React Native. That is mobile applications.
Right.
You can do the same with Flutter as well. You can Express in our earlier example will act as backend, and that is being developed using Node.js. Right. And M, that is MongoDB. So that is our data layer.
Right.
You can make up your stacks, and it could be as diverse as it could get.
MERN is something like most commonly known.
Yeah.
What are the other stacks generally? Just for curiosity.
Like Express, we can create backend using Express.
Right.
That is Node.js, by the way. We can do it in .NET, ASP.NET. We can do it in Python. That is Django Flask.
Right.
So again, Django Flask is also a framework.
Yeah.
Right. That uses Python. You can use Rust.
Okay.
Go language is very upcoming, and like again, it's not very new. It had some time to mature, but it is also in demand.
Okay, so my understanding is like MERN is something like most famous.
Yes.
Like people are aware about it. You can use alternative of within the same stack. You replace.
So essentially, you have things like for front end, you can either use React, you can use React Native, you can use Flutter.
Yeah.
And for back end, you can again change your things, right? So we already spoke about the list,
right?
And the database component, right? So you can again choose one that stores all the data. You can choose combination of them to make elaborate schemes.
Got it. So I have one layman question. I have this question for like so long. Since you are a full stack developer, I'm asking. You buy an Android mobile, and they keep updating, and few devices they give you promise like 5 years update.
Sure.
But after 5 years, like as the days pass, the update stops. The security patch updates, we don't get it. That's totally fine, understandable. But why certain apps, the mobile apps, stops working? either they act slow, sometimes they say like we no more support.
I'll address two things.
Right.
One, it getting slow, and two, it does not get support. So WhatsApp will not work on like very old Android versions. Like every day they release new devices.
Right.
And new devices has new capabilities. So now everyone wants new capabilities for their apps. WhatsApp wants granular control over the camera when I click photos and like from WhatsApp itself to send to someone, right?
Right.
So again, I'll break that down into two parts also. They want newer stuff, so they'll write code to get those newer stuff. Now they'll add conditions that like if the device supports this thing, then only add this.
Okay.
So, and if it supports this, do this. If it supports this, do this.
Okay.
At a point of time, it will become very tedious to manage all of those things. They'll have to cut it down. They'll have to let things go. One is that. The other thing is that like if I'm using the new feature, the new device have new chips,
Right.
that are more powerful. So I'll try to leverage that. Old CPU can also do that, but it is a bit slower. Now you get that sluggish feeling where like apps are running slow because they want to do more with newer CPUs, but older CPUs will struggle.
Got it.
Right? So that's why it is slow.
Okay.
Regarding those outdated things, right? The main problem is, let us say if there is a vulnerability known that was not patched and that is affecting WhatsApp. It's a very popular option that they will not support. Let us say if there is some issue that is causing them a problem, so they'll say that we will no longer support this iOS version to save themselves as well as their users.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. When it comes to cloud, right? I'm basically from a cloud and DevOps part. We have certain priority when we design an architecture or choosing a right tech stack. For example, we give priority for security, then performance likewise. So how it looks like in a full stack development part, because we're talking about multiple stacks like MERN, what would be your top priorities to keep in mind when it comes to like designing an application?
When you are one man show, you need to decide that how much controls do you want to put in, right? All depends on the business use case of that application.
Right. So I'm more interested towards the application part,
Yeah.
not more around like how you work or how you function.
Definitely.
Like to give an idea, right? So for example, we have the standard architectural principles when it comes to cloud design, right? So give priority for security, then you play with reliability and cost optimization and performance. So likewise, do you have anything from the app perspective?
Yeah. So like backend always plays a key role, right? And you need to decide what all controls do you want to put in.
Okay.
Right? And definitely security do come in. It's very important. But I have seen a lot of startups don't bother at all with security.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to work for this startup. I'll not name them.
Right.
They are based in USA. They had very good funding. But when I joined them, I helped them basically to rewrite their application, mobile application. When I joined them, they had an authentication mechanism, but that authentication like none of the other calls were made with that authentication. So if I know the user IDs and like all of those things, I can just do a postman call and that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So like again, in this fast moving world, people generally don't worry about security. And again, there is this quote from Facebook that is running very wild these days that like move fast, break things, right?
Right.
So you make things, you make your investor believe that this works, but even if that does not work, that is fine. So again, if you are making a banking application, you cannot do that. The security comes first, right? So it depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to like show people that we have an authentication mechanism and it works, you can do that without even like writing the whole thing.
Got it.
Right?
So take a use case,
Sure.
and decide which one to priority and go for.
So let us say, like if you want to talk about security, we definitely need to analyze what type of risks profile does it have.
Got it.
Right? So definitely if there is banking data, if there is financial data, personal information, again, people do not take care about personal information of their user, but to me, at least that is very important, right? So if you have personally identifiable information about someone, you should have your top priority to security that like no one else can access that.
Okay.
Right?
So any interesting downtime have you seen in your career path of app development? Like you developed this mistake I have done, and this caused this outage, and this how we recovered. Any interesting story to share?
So again, I'm not sure about have you heard about this quote or not, but like a DevOps person has either like broke down the production or he's about to do that. Right?
Okay.
There is this famous saying. Like again, my first boss used to say that like a DevOps person has either broken the production or he's about to break. Right?
So you're saying full stack?
I did. Again, if you are running one-man show, you are doing all of those jobs as well, and you are managing the servers as well. And I did bring down a database server.
Okay.
Yes. So that like again that was in my starting of the career.
So everything is like around the DevOps. That's totally got it. Like I was thinking about like anything.
Oh, okay.
In the development flag, maybe like future flag, you enabled it by mistake. It went to production.
Thankfully, I did not.
Okay.
Thankfully, fingers crossed. But again, it could happen to me tomorrow. Again,
Right.
that's not.
fine.
Yeah.
So touch wood, it won't happen.
But again, now we have staging environments and stuff. So
That's what I was leading to.
Yeah.
Like, what is the best practices you followed to achieve that, for no downtime?
So, isolation of environments is a very good thing, and those environments has to be identical,
Right.
as identical as possible.
Okay.
So that when you are running something on staging, by the way, people who don't know staging, it's like a replicated environment for production, where you run your applications. And
so
that
prod
not
is nothing but if you're going to the Android Play Store and downloading an app, that's a
is prod.
production.
Yeah.
And the staging is like used for internal
purposes, so that you don't end up your production data, and you can try out stuff, you can break stuff, so that your production is safe.
Right. So the regression testing comes into picture.
Yeah.
Oh man, like full stack development is like full of like you talked about DevOps.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about testing. What else you left out with full stack?
So again, when you say full stack, you have to consider all of the paths, because if you are full stack developer, you are doing all of those jobs, right? So I can break a responsiveness of the website. I can enable some features by accident and bring down the backend, or maybe introduce some side effects, right, that are not intentional.
Right. So
I
they
can
say
bring.
It's not what they say. It's not a bug. It's a
feature.
Yeah.
So again, everything is a side effect, right? So good things, bad things, everything is a side effect.
Okay. So practically speaking, as of today's day, is it possible for someone to become a full stack developer from day one for a, let's say, non-CS background or non-IT background? Is it even possible to start their career as a full stack from day one, or do you think in terms of like any tips for them how they can go further on that?
Okay, if your eyes are set on being a full stack developer, what I would say is start working on the individual stacks that we already discussed, right? So if you don't have front end skills, you will not be able to do the full stack job, right? Because full stack job, you need to write front end, right? So what I would say is get some basic knowledge about front end, get some basic knowledge about back end, get some basic knowledge about data, right? And these days you do not need to worry about a lot of DevOps. DevOps, I would say, like when your application starts maturing, you need more complex setup. That's where Vasan comes in, right? So again, if you are using Next.js, right, as a stack, Next.js has backend, it has front-end capabilities. They also provide a free database as well, like these days.
Okay.
And so, like a person who is starting out, they will not have to give their credit card also, and they'll get the full stack up and running in the cloud, so everyone can use it. Limits are generous, right? So you do not have to worry about that. You do not have to worry about DevOps, right?
Right.
In the starting phase at least. And then you start picking up, advancing your skills through within each stacks, right? Front end, back end, and data, right? You pick up skills, and that's how you get to full stack.
I generally tell the same thing for DevOps also. You have like multiple cycle in it, and then you pick one tooling. For example, you just take GitHub, anything whichever you have access to it, and start with it, and then you will adapt it. I think I can relate it something similar when you said like pick one thing from there and do it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to DevOps, for example, like the concept is same, but the syntax can be different.
Yes.
Is it the same thing in?
Yes, definitely. So again, the core thing is that you will have to maintain this link. Front end talks to back end talks to database, right? And it gives your users certain experience. Again, as we have already discussed that, like again, each of them could be different, right? There could be combination. You can have a React.js website and React Native mobile application. So you can have multiple front ends. In some cases, they like to have multiple backends. And this is a well-known practice about having multiple type of databases. And like there are more and more tools coming on, so that you don't need a DevOps person. But like as your application gets complex, you definitely need one. So again, the key is to focus on one thing at a time. And if you are really good at it, you can do all of them. You can learn front end in morning, back end in evening, and middle you can squeeze in some time for data.
Right? Like a sandwich.
Because again, you'll have to get into all of those three things because those are key components of being full stack developer.
Got it. When it comes to full stack developer, what is it like too much of pressure, or like is it too much of workload?
Again, it depends on the companies.
Okay,
let's who are you working for?
Let's take I'm not going for startup because irrespective, in startup is generally like work pressure, whichever role, but let's say one stable position company, how it is like?
So I would not say that we have a lot of work pressure, but work pressure is something that I have realized that it's up to the person who wants to take it.
Right. Okay, I will rephrase my question. Maybe.
Okay. Before that, like I'll tell you that I did work for like 18 hours a day, right, in my previous life. But nowadays, I'm more mindful of what I'm doing.
Right.
I want to achieve that work-life balance that people talk about, and like so, I am consciously making an effort to not work past say 8 hours,
right,
or say 10 hours.
So that's everyone's life. Like initial phase of career, everyone put double the efforts.
Yes.
They try to learn and get a stable position, and then they slow down a bit. But still maintaining the rampo of it. That's a good thing.
Yeah, like for me, it's like I love this thing, right?
Right.
So I can work for 20 hours if I want.
Okay.
I have done multiple hackathons that were more than 36 hours.
Okay.
Right. And that is something that I've lived by.
Right.
I love writing code, and that's what took me here.
Right. So, talking about, since you brought up the topic of hackathon, like what extra curricular activities or like other than work people can get involved themselves to get them into full stack developer, into a fast track?
Okay, so let us consider some person who is not into coding, right, and he wants to be a full stack developer. As we have already established that they need to learn those
Stacks,
individual things,
right?
Individual components, they have to do it, right? So now they can spend, let us say, their free time out of their life portion, and they can like redirecting themselves into reading about what stack that they want to get into,
right?
Right. So they'll have to make a choice about one front end thing at least. They'll have to make choice for one backend technology,
right?
And then they'll have to choose one data platform,
right?
May it be Mongo, may it be anything, right? So they'll have to choose one. Now to choose one, you'll have to read. You'll have to listen to people who know that, right? So right now, Next.js is a very safe bet, right? And deploying it on Vercel, it's a very safe bet, right? You need to read to find that out. It is true for today, but it might not be true for tomorrow, right? People are coming up with awesome stuff every day, and that's where you research, you find out things, and you start developing with it.
Okay.
Right?
So is there any like places to get to know where the hackathon is happening, or any, for example, I will put it in a way like for DevOps, there are like user groups are there.
Yes.
So same way, like, is there any famous user group for developer or any event that people should consider attending who are passionate towards
Not that I know of on top of my head, but you can definitely join meetups.
Right.
Meetups is one platform that I definitely know that hosts a lot of developer conferences. So I know that like for a fact that like in Pune, they have a very active developer like relationship. So they do for Docker.
Okay.
They do it for like front end technologies. Some of them do for Firebase.
Okay.
And like different things.
Right.
So even if you go to all of those meetups, you meet different people, you talk to different people, and you get to know that what they are working on. Let us say now you have started your journey. You are, let us say, 6 months in. You have already made your choice for front end, back end.
Right.
You talk to someone who is using some other tech, right? And like after talking to them, you realize that like that stack is better than mine.
Got it.
Again, you have to weigh in pros and cons of like switching to a different stack.
Yeah.
You'll have to put in some more hours of training yourself. Your training in your current stack will not go to waste. Definitely.
Got it.
That experience will carry you forward, but you'll definitely have to spend some time on like learning new things. If you think that the new stack is bringing in more value than the time that you're spending on getting to know it, I say that you go for it.
Right, makes sense. So it's like you experiment it. If you don't have time, speak to the person who already experienced it, get the feedback, and take it from there. Yeah,
Yeah,
level
and
feedback.
you also follow, like you can also follow good developers on YouTube. There are a lot of them.
Right.
On Twitter, they do tweet out like new technologies.
Right.
So for example, one of creators that I follow did tweet about the Bun, the
Okay.
new Node.js competitor.
What's his
Right?
name? The creator name. It'll be helpful for people.
So his name is Theo, I guess.
Okay.
Theo.gg.
I will link it in the
Yeah.
description.
So again, you can listen to them who are doing this professionally and doing this since long.
Nice.
Right? So their experience. So again, there is a saying in my language. So I'll try to translate. It says that learn from others' mistake while you do not make those mistakes yourself.
Got it.
Right? So if someone has already spent say 10 years of their life developing front end, you can definitely listen to him. And if he says that like this technology is good for front end, you
Right.
definitely choose that.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. So one common thing is about people ask how much pay they can get, right? For example, in DevOps, the current average pay is like not in the MNC they pay less, but if you like go for like mid-level or some good company, the average pay you can say like cross 3. So if you have 8 years experience, you can get like 24 lakhs per annum, something,
I have not thought about it like that.
right?
Again,
So
yeah.
just an average
Yeah.
brackets. So likewise, like from the full stack perspective, if you think about the basic pay which they can expect, any idea?
I think it would be a little bit more than just the front end, but I would not say if you are like just because you know how to deal with 3 different components of software lifecycle, you will get 3 times what the front end developer is making. So I would say it would be much around 1.4 to 1.5 times what front end developer.
No, not about comparing with front end.
No,
but
like
the
again,
experience wise, like let's say for 2 years experience guy, can he make like
Okay, so
the range, like
Yeah.
just to give them an idea, like I know it's going to be completely vary from company to company, the
definitely
skill set.
the problem is that while I had that amount of experience, I was not into job, right?
Okay.
So I do not have that context
Okay.
on how that scales, like
Okay.
pay scale varies.
Okay.
But like again, a lot of my experience comes from freelance development.
Okay, so right.
So I'm not aware about salaries as
No,
much.
no
and I don't
problem.
ask.
No problem. So you gave a hint for the next question about freelance.
Yep.
So because many people who are like diploma or like didn't completed the one, I have spoken to n number of people. They said like, I'm interested in coding. I'm interested in full stack developer, but since they don't have the degree, most companies won't take them in. But then the freelance can be one of the loophole where people see your skill set, you showcase the project. There are companies out there who don't consider degree,
Definitely.
just your skill set wise. I'm not getting into the topic, but then if they want to take a route of full freelance, like how they can showcase the skill set, how to get their own project at first place.
Okay. So this is a hack that I used to get into freelance thing, right? So shout out to a friend of mine who basically gave me my first job,
Right?
as a freelancer. Again, like that definitely got me started, and I started with a language that I didn't knew. I started with React Native
Okay.
for my first freelancing job, right? And I started learning React Native. I got into it. Now thankfully I had this one application in my portfolio.
Right.
Now, but then after that, I was finding it very difficult to get other jobs on basis of that. So I did a couple of free things for people.
Okay.
Again, I would not recommend you to do free things, but it could be a way for you to build your portfolio.
Right.
Like if it is less work, you can make it like
Maybe
conserving your energy.
Yeah, maybe rather than giving it 100% of focus free, maybe like 10% as a
Yeah,
sample.
you give
something.
it at a discount or something
Right.
to someone, and if that is a good addition to your portfolio, I would say go for it, because
Okay.
your portfolio is also creating a value for you.
Right.
Once you have a decent amount of projects under your belt, then definitely people would be really happy to give you some job.
Right.
I will admit that I did buy some of my own stuff on platform like Upwork.
Okay.
Right, so I would buy from a different profile and give me a good positive rating.
Okay.
Again, I would not suggest you to do that because that is ethically incorrect. But I was confident that I am not doing something wrong, and it's just that I think I was really good. That's the reason I wanted to do this. Like,
Right.
if you like, I would say don't pull in projects that you cannot do.
Right. If you're not comforted or
Yeah, so because it will create problems for you later.
right. But what are the common platform which people can get freelance?
Currently Upwork is running very good.
Okay.
Right. Freelancer.com is
Overrated.
even Upwork is overcrowded these days. I would say like people per hour, and there are a lot of applications. I'll pass some link. You can add it to description.
Right.
But yeah, you can use Fiverr. There are a lot of things, right? A lot of options. You'll have to like choose one. You create your profile so that your profile stands out, right? If you do it on 5 different platforms, you do one job on all of them, right? Your rating is still not that. If you do all of those 5 jobs on one platform, your rating looks much better.
So yeah, got it. Makes sense. Like rating is a higher the rating you get, high you can get demand for it.
Yeah.
So the most common question people ask me as well, like, will AI overtook your job?
Will AI?
Because they ask me in DevOps, they ask in content writing. Yeah. So I'm shooting out to your question, like, what's that process?
That is really an interesting question, and I'll not lie and say that I haven't thought about it. I have definitely thought about it. And these are my thoughts, that AI can definitely take someone's job. But if you can use AI to your advantage, you will take someone else's job.
Okay.
And in the competitive market, what I would suggest is you take someone else's job before someone else does to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So use AI to your advantage and enhance your skills.
Right. Good. Thanks. So thanks for your time, Bharat.
Thank you.
Right. So guys, I know like we try to cover as much we could from our end, and there is a lot to discuss. Even if we just start naming one tool stack or one concept, the time is not enough. If you have any specific question to ask to Bharat, leave it in the comment. We'll make a follow-up video on that one. And we have another video follow up on this one. It's more around a fancy miracle gadgets which Bharat has. So without skipping, see you again in the next video. Until then, tata from Vasan.
Bye.